Welcome to our new online programme.
Our aim is to connect everyone around the world with a passion for Tenkara. We'll be bringing you as much content as we can on the subject of Tenkara.
This is going to be a free online programme that anyone can access. We're going to try and make it as regular as we can, and we're aiming for once every month.
We'll be bringing you interviews, hints and tips, culture, stories and much, much more.
But first, we have a message from Japan's foremost Tenkara ambassador.
Welcome to Tenkara in Focus. ようこそTenkara Focus へ。
Welcome to Tenkara in Focus. Since 2012, we've been building a huge archive of video material.
Now, some of that's already been used in our DVDs, but it takes us roughly a year to get a DVD together, and it needs a coherent narrative. And a lot of what we've shot has not really fit within that coherent narrative. So we've got tons and tons of really interesting little snippets, and we didn't really have a way to share those with people.
I think it was you that sort of came up with the idea with maybe putting together this sort of programme.
Yeah, I was kind of inspired by the email tutorials that Paul does, and I've realised that's a way to engage with people on a regular basis. And all of these little snippets that we've got, these little sort of vignettes of life in Japan, little tips and tricks of fishing that we've done, it's a great way to sort of fit those in if we do some kind of magazine and news style broadcast on a regular basis.
It's likely that each show will vary in length because the content doesn't really fit into neat little boxes.
We're planning to get some kind of regular features on there, but there'll be different things popping in now and again, and it may be that some of the regular features will need to take a break because we'll have some one-off content that may run a little long.
And on top of the stuff that's in the free programme, there's going to be some additional optional paid media as well that features expert Japanese anglers, this kind of thing, but we'll tell you more about that later on.
We'll be sharing stories of our travels in Japan, both of fishing and surrounding culture.
Not only that, but we'll be expanding it into experiences that we've had in Europe, hopefully in the USA, but wherever you are, what we're going to be doing is going to be directly relevant to you.
We'll be bringing you some great tutorials, starting with our Deadly Sins of Tenkara series.
And we'll be featuring loads of fascinating guests as well. Check this out.
In this episode, we'll be bringing you an exclusive interview with Dr. Ishigaki on the state of Tenkara in 2016. In future episodes, we hope to be bringing you many interviews from Tenkara anglers around the world, such as Shoichi Saito talking about the history and tackle of Tenkara, Masami and Koko Sakikibara talking about their Tenkara story. We'll meet Yoshiyuki Mushu, a phenomenal Tenkara angler who in the West has so far been unreported, a true Japanese Tenkara master. In one of our many interviews featuring Go Ishii, we'll bring you Megumi Hirata, one of Japan's female anglers whose excitement for Tenkara is truly tangible. In addition to featuring Japanese Tenkara anglers, we'll be bringing you interviews with anglers from around the world, such as Vito Surikichi Rubino from Italy, and Carol Lansky, a Swiss fly fisher who was living in Colorado at the birth of Tenkara in the West. We hope to introduce you to many more of the friends we've made while travelling in Japan, like Kazuo Kurahashi, who's as generous with his knowledge as he is with his time, and Hirotaka Makino, known to his friends as Himano, an effortlessly cool guy who spends an incredible amount of time on the water. We'll be bringing you a unique perspective on Tenkara from Uberto Caligaric, an Italian gold medal winning angler who's now living and breathing Tenkara in Japan. We'll be bringing you other interesting perspectives on Tenkara, such as Chris Hendricks, a Tenkara guide from Norway who specialises in hybrid techniques using Western flies with Tenkara tackle. And speaking of tackle, we'll be bringing you sneak peeks inside the jackets, the bags, the pockets of Tenkara anglers from around the world. We'll talk about rods, we'll talk about lines, we'll talk about tippet, we'll talk about flies, and anything else that fits in our pockets and bags. It's all going to be in there. So, some great content coming up. And first up, we have our exclusive interview with Dr. Ishigaki on the state of Tenkara in 2016.
We were so honoured on our most recent visit to Japan that Dr. Ishigaki actually arranged a special event to coincide with us being there.
It was the first time we'd taken a group of Tenkara anglers to Japan with us, and Chris, Neil, Alan and Glyn had a great time.
So let's join Dr. Ishigaki in Itashiro, Japan and see what he has to say.
So there's international development and domestic development as well. So I'd like him to talk about maybe both really briefly. じゃあ両方簡単に。
そうですね。
はい。
ですね、ここ4、5年の間に、テンカラがですね、大変、国内でも、そして、海外でも盛んになっています。大変私は嬉しく思います。
He's very happy that in the last 4 or 5 years, Tenkara has developed and progressed so much internationally and domestically.
で、日本の国内において、ここ数年の間にテンカラが、すごく、増えていますね。
Especially in the last few years in Japan, Tenkara has seen tremendous growth.
そしてその人たちの多くはまずフライフィッシャーマン、それから、餌釣り、バイトフィッシング、ベイトフィッシング、それからルアー、いろいろなジャンルから、テンカラに、転向しています。
And many of those anglers are converting from Western fly fishing, spin fishing, and bait fishing.
で、日本ではこの渓流釣りは、テンカラが唯一テンカラがの人口が増えています。
In all of different segments of different types of fishing we have in Japan, only Tenkara is seeing growth in terms of number of anglers.
それはですね、テンカラが非常にシンプルで、そしてよく釣れる、そしてお金もかからない。これが、もちろん楽しい。これがですね、日本の人たちに、次第に知られるようになった。そういうことだと思いますね。
He thinks that it's because Tenkara is so simple in terms of gear, equipment, and it's also affordable because of that. So it's easy for people to pick up.
それはこの間にですね、YouTube、それからマガジンですね、それからブック、こういうのでですね、テンカラが、こう知られるようになったということがあります。
There's some publishing, but I think the information availability of information on the internet now has helped.
そのトピックスとしてですね、ある自動車会社のコマーシャルにテンカラのムービーが使われました。
So Tenkara was used in an advertisement for an automaker as an example.
それほどテンカラがですね、知られてきています。
So Tenkara has become very known and popular.
で、海外でもですね、同じように海外でも、テンカラがですね、すごく人気だと思いますね。
And they have seen a similar type development and success overseas as well.
で、私の知るところではね、テンカーラということでですね、海外の人たちが、盛んにやってくれている。これは非常に嬉しく思いますね。
He's very happy that people outside Japan are practicing Tenkara.
それはですね、やはり海外の人にもテンカラの楽しさ、シンプル、そして、お金がかからない、これも非常に重要な、ことで、それらが同じように日本と同じような気持ちでですね、海外の人もテンカラをやっているんだろうと、そういうふうに思いますね。
He thinks that people outside Japan are also appreciating the simplicity and the fact that it's economical, also, and he's very happy about that.
まず一つの私の夢があります。
He has a dream.
I have dream. それはですね、日本の渓流釣り人口の半分をテンカラにする。それが私の夢です。
His goal is to convert or make 50% of all of Japanese mountain fishing anglers into Tenkara anglers.
ですからここ4、5年の間、私は、さらにですね、普及をしたいと思います。
So he will work hard and put his effort into making that happen in the next 5 years.
おそらく日本のテンカラの人口はさらに増えていくというふうに私は思います。
He believes that the population of Tenkara anglers in Japan will continue to grow.
そのためにはですね、大事なことは、テンカラを始める人を増やすということ。
And it's important to get more people to start fishing Tenkara and introduce it.
そのために必要なのは、ロッドですね。非常にいいロッドの開発、ロッドとライン、システムを完成させること、より良いシステムを作っていくこと、これが私のあと4、5年の間の、役割かなというふうに思っています。
He believes that his duty for the next 4 or 5 years is to develop easy and practical, simple system, rod line for people that's never fished Tenkara to pick up.
テンカラは非常にシンプルで、そして、楽しい釣りである。これを本当にアピールする。これがすごく重要なさまざまなメッセージを使ってシンプル、そして楽しい、そしてよく釣れる。お金かからない。これを伝えたいと思います。はい。
So he'd like to promote the fact that Tenkara is simple, easy, cheap, and effective.
それさまざまなメッセージをからこうそれを発信したいと思ってますね。
So he'll be the promoter of those.
Great, thank you very
はい、
much.
thank you.
Could you explain to Ishigaki-san? This is for a new project. We intend to try and make a news program about Tenkara every month on YouTube. So it will feature interviews, fishing, tips, and any interesting stories about Tenkara every month for free on YouTube for all the world.
Okay. YouTube でもう毎月これを情報を発信してニュースチャンネルみたいにしたいと思います。それで日本からの情報、イギリスからの情報、それ一つにこうソースにまとめてみんなが見れるようにしたいっていうことですね。
それは素晴らしいです。多分それによってですね、おそらく大勢の人たちがさらに、テンカラをですね、特に海外で、テンカラが増えていくというふうに思いますし、またそれを期待したいですね。
That's wonderful. He believes that will help develop Tenkara even further, especially overseas.
The name of the program is Tenkara in Focus.
そのプログラムの名前はTenkara in Focus。
おお、ナイスね。
いただけましたでしょうか。英語で。
Welcome to Tenkara in Focus。ようこそテンカラフォーカスへ。
ありがとう、お疲れ様でした。
So that was it, our first feature. Hope you enjoyed it. I don't know if the keen-eared amongst you picked up, but Dr. Ishigaki, quite a playful character, has a little joke about the pronunciation of Tenkara or Tenkara. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's one of those things. I mean, even myself, I don't say it the same way. It depends where I am. If I'm in Japan or speaking to Japanese people, I do it more Tenkara, sort of that kind of short, choppy A. But it seems natural when we're speaking English to say like Tenkara. It seems easier to do that, but it really does amuse the Japanese. In the same way that we say Tokyo, but Japanese people is Tokyo. It's kind of two long ones, and that gives them just just so much fun anyway.
Yeah. It's funny. I've got one or two Scottish friends that pronounce Tenkara perfectly just because of the nature of the Scots accent. So they get it bang on. But it's a funny one, and I don't think it matters that much. But the Japanese say Tenkara like in caravan.
Yeah.
Many people say Tenkara like car, like automobile, car.
And I think that the thing is as well that when we're talking about linguistic things, big opportunity to say thank you so much to many people, but particularly Go Ishii.
Yeah, you saw Go there in the interview. He really is a key player in Tenkara in terms of that barrier between Japan and the West linguistically. He's been so helpful with everything we've done, and you'll be seeing a lot of Go in interviews and content in the future.
Up next, we've got a special report from America.
Yeah, it's been an ambition, a vision as part of this programme to try and get correspondents to actually bring us news reports from around the world. And we were lucky enough at quite short notice to get a correspondent to cover the Tenkara Jam for 2016.
Yeah, and probably many people will know Mike Agnetta from his contributions to the world of Tenkara through the fantastic online and physical magazine Tenkara Angler.
Yeah, you might have seen his blog as well. He does a blog called Troutrageous.
On top of his busy workload, Mike was kind enough to squeeze in a special report from us from the event itself.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tight turnaround, to be honest. We contacted Mike just a week before the jam, and he shot everything that we asked him to and uploaded the raw footage so that we could download it and edit this just last night, ready for the programme.
So here it is. You've probably guessed by now, but here's a special report from the 2016 Tenkara Jam.
Hi, This is Mike Agnetta from Tenkara Angler Magazine, reporting for Tenkara in Focus from the Great Smoky Mountain National Park right outside of Cherokee, North Carolina, home of the 2016 Tenkara Jam. The Jam was a very well-received event, with over 130 registered attendees making the trip to see the top vendors and personalities in the Tenkara community. Vendors such as Tenkara USA, Badger Tenkara, Three Rivers Tenkara, Tenkara Bum, Tanuki, Riverworks Tenkara, and the Tenkara Rod Company all had their latest wares on display. Presenters such as Jason Sparks, Tom Sadler, Anthony Naples, Daniel Gallardo, Rob Worthing, Chris Stewart, Dan Dutton, and Luong Tam all captivated the audience with their very informative presentations on various Tenkara topics. While putting faces to names and making new friends is always a highlight of a weekend like the Jam, the manufacturers had a lot to show as well. Not only did they have their current rods, lines, and flies on display, but a few brought out some new prototypes. I think the Tenkara community is going to be very excited to see some of the rods that are going to hit the store shelves in the upcoming months. The presentations were all outstanding as well. Rob Worthing's presentation on advanced Tenkara casting techniques not only showed us how to improve our skill by using a progression table, but also he gave us some tips on how to get a fly into a fish when the standard overhand cast just won't work. Dan Dutton's presentation on fish mortality and catch and release showed us how once we catch a fish, we can make sure that it's there to be caught another day. And Chris Stewart's presentation on catching other species than trout with a fixed line fly fishing rod opened up a lot of people's eyes. The fact that you can catch fish as small as micros all the way up to big bruisers such as carp and striped bass are going to have people thinking a little bit differently the next time they pick up their Tenkara rods. Finally, I'd like to give a big shout out to Jason Sparks and his family for making us all feel so welcome. The Tenkara Jam was a top-notch event, and I think it was one that's a highlight of everybody's fishing season. With that said, I've got a trout stream about 20 yards in that direction, and I've got a rod in hand. So I'm going to go fishing and toss it back to John and Paul in the studio. Thanks, guys.
Big thanks to Mike there. I'm mightily impressed. To say that's his first gig as a kind of a roving reporter, doing a video report, dialing in something like that. Big thumbs up.
Great work, Mike. Yeah. And props to Jason Sparks as well for organising the event. Really looked like a great event. Wish we could have been there.
100%. And it's just fantastic to see Tenkara as a kind of a community and as a movement just growing year on year like that.
Yeah, looking at the stats for the Jam, it's not quite, but almost doubled in attendance year on year for the 3 years it's been running. So who knows where that could end.
Now, this is a great opportunity to actually explain something that will become a regular feature on these programmes. What we want to do is take an idea, and it could be a technique, it could be a tip, or anything that there's like a concept that we can really get our teeth into, and then we'll develop that over several episodes. Now, John's already done a fantastic piece and a great intro to it, so let's have a look at that on VT now.
Welcome to Deadly Sins of Tenkara. In this series, we're going to be taking a look at some of the key mistakes that people are often making when they're out fishing. Now, these little mistakes and problems won't always stop you from catching fish. It's still possible to be catching fish. But if you can eliminate these issues from your fishing, it can often lead to chances of many, many more fish. So let's have a look at deadly sin number 1. So deadly sin number 1 is quite a simple one. Basically, it's laying down casting line on the water. It might seem simple, but it can cost you so many fish, particularly in low, clear conditions, in shallow water or on very clear streams. If the casting line's landing down over where the fish are, that can be enough to spook a fish. And I could spend all day talking about it, but it might be just as easy to show you what I mean. So, deadly sin number 1. Laying down casting line on the water, just like this. So I'm making a fairly long cast and I'm laying down anything from 2 to 4, maybe even 6 feet of casting line on the water. Sometimes, I see people casting like this, the whole tippet doesn't turn over, the fly lands quite close. Sometimes you get good turnover, everything lands in a straight line. But contrast that against keeping all the casting line off the water like this. This is what I'd like to see people doing more. It's what we see people in Japan doing all the time. You'll hear people in Japan talking about Tenkara's vertical advantage. And this is what we mean. It's keeping up all that casting line and getting great contact to the fly. The only disturbance on the water's surface is that fly landing. If you're laying down line on the water, you've got bright, heavy line splashing down on the water's surface right above where you expect the fish are. That gives you a very, very strong possibility of spooking fish. Now, it won't always spook fish, and it's still possible to catch the odd fish with line laying down on the water. But in some tests that me and Paul conducted a few years ago, we found on one of the streams we fished, we had up to a 7-fold increase in the number of fish we were taking just by keeping all the line off the water and only landing the fly and maybe 2 or 3 inches of tippet. So if you can keep your line off the water, it's the best way to fish. There are circumstances which we'll talk about later in these series where you'll be forced to lay some line on the water. It may be that you've got overhanging trees and you can't keep the rod high. It may be that you just need to fish at such a long distance on a big river that you can't hold everything off the water. But wherever it's possible to hold line off the water, you probably should, and it'll probably lead to more fish. I'm going to give this pool just a few minutes rest now because we've been slapping some line down on the water. But I know this river quite well, and maybe 10 or 15 minutes and the fish may be back on the feed. So I'll give it a little break, we'll come back in and I'll do some fishing, line off the water, and we'll see if we can catch a few fish. Obviously, no fish have been caught so far. You've just seen me slapping line down on the water. Let's see what we can do. How's that? Acrobat. There we go. There we go. Oh. Try that again. There we go. Little acrobat.
Nice fishing there, JP. Looking pretty slick on stream.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it was a great day. Lovely light. Plenty of fish around, so it was a really nice experience all round. But not everything went to plan. And rather than leave it on the cutting room floor, we had a bit of a mishap that I thought would make a great teaching point, so we'll share that with you now. Don't do that at home, folks. While we're stuck in a tree, I may as well tell you my method of getting free. Once I've given it a couple of gentle tugs with the rod, I don't really want to put any extra pressure on the rod after that. You don't really want to be trying to strike it out of the tree. That's often a fast way of breaking rods. So if you can collapse the rod to the point where you can get your thumb over the end, we know that this fragile tip won't get pulled or broken. Very easy to absent-mindedly kind of tug. If that's sticking out, the minute you release from the tree, you snap the end of your rod off. So get whole rod in, then it's looking like I'm going to need to pull for a break. So I'll get good purchase on the line, look the other way, especially if you fish beadheads. It can come out of that tree like a bullet. So looking the other way, pull for a break. That went with a fair old snap. Then it's a case of just re-rigging.
Yeah, that one really did go with a bit of a crack, didn't it?
Yeah, not half. I'm glad there wasn't a beadhead coming out to hitting me in the face like that.
But that's the thing. I mean, the thing that I would want to say and impress on people is that we're keen to not just take the kind of the pristine, the very clinical, oh, look at us, and sort of like make it almost like better than what we're able to do. Like showing that warts and all approach is super important, I think, because it is how everyone experiences fishing on stream.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the best teaching points come from the little mishaps. It's about helping people steer around those things. You can't necessarily always avoid things, so meeting them head on is a big part of teaching, really.
Yeah, and picking up on that, when we had Dr. Ishigaki over to deliver his seminar in 2013, it's a very much similar experience, but the value of that tuition was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, we were so fortunate when Dr. Ishigaki decided he wanted to come to the UK and spread Tenkara. At the time, all the arrows seemed to point to us and discover Tenkara. And Ishigaki-san actually contacted Paul via Stephen, the
It's a pretty
translator.
Convoluted route, wasn't it?
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
I think it's just the fact that we were just so, we were, at the time, I think we probably still are, just brimming over with the enthusiasm for Tenkara. And it just by having that love of the activity, it kind of, it led to making those contacts and having that fantastic...
Before we knew what was happening, we were hosting Ishigaki-san for a week, and we put together a seminar at the Discover Tenkara Syndicate Waters, which, if anyone's seen our first DVD, they feature quite heavily in there. And we got together some of the most passionate Tenkara anglers in the UK. There were people from magazines, there were people that run Tenkara websites, there were just enthusiasts who were just genuinely passionate about Tenkara. And we all got together for a great seminar and teaching event featuring Dr. Ishigaki.
Now, I think we can pull out a little bit of a sequence from that and have a quick look at it, just to sort of, get a vibe and get a little teaching point from that whole lesson. Yeah. So let's take a look now.
Any question, please? Choshi. Action. 6-4. 6-4. 6-4 action. 6-4ですね。ほぼこの辺からベンド。
So 6-4 bend from there.
今、3.8 メートルだったので、これは今 3.4 短くして。
I've made the rod shorter now.
7-3.
And it's become a
7-3. 6-4.
6-4.
What is the tippet that you use?
Yeah.
Is it monofilament or fluorocarbon?
ハリスは、モノフィラメントか
これはフローカーボン。I use fluorocarbon tippet. because fluorocarbon tippet is straight これチリチリしないこうキンこれくるくる
Pink up. The fluorocarbon doesn't pink up.
そう
Go straight.
で水切りといってベタベタしないわかるかなこのベタベタしないんです
And it doesn't get sticky.
こうベタベタこう絡まこういうふうにベタベタしない
ベタベタってくっつくんです。
そうくっつかないフローカーボンは
Doesn't stick.
だから私はフローカーボンを使うそのストレートでシューっていく
Go
ナイ
straight.
ロンは少しヨロヨロ
Nylon.
ナイロンヨロヨロフローカーボンシュー
Are there other sorts of flies? I mean, what other flies do you use?
他にいい質問ですね。
I don't mean just the pattern. I mean, is there other designs, or is that a standard design?
この毛針は
はい
標準ですか？
はい
他の点から毛針ありますか？
もちろんあります毛針をですね状況によって使い分けるんですよ基本的使い分けるただ基本的にこれは最も標準的な毛針です
That is the most standard fly, but you do change the fly according to
もし
conditions.
もし魚がもっとこう小さい毛針の方がいいなという時あります非常にセンシティブな時
So when the fish are spooky, they'll be taking smaller.
Right.
Fine.
So you change size.
Yes, change size で sometimes、誘う時には誘う毛針を使う
And you'll use we talked about sasoi.
Yeah.
ソフトハックルビッグソフトハックルほにょ本当
So
にこ
we'll
ういう
use a bigger hackle.
そういうのを使う
So
で
there's more movement on the hackle.
Yes, move. で、しかし、非常に、ディープな非常に深いところを釣るような時には、シークレットな毛針を持っている。
But when the water is very deep and you want to fish very deep, you have a secret kebari.
タングステンヘッド毛針。
You will put a tungsten head on in those conditions.
昨日ですね、tomorrow use tungsten head 毛針。I catched grading this size and brown and rainbow、もし昨日普通の毛針を水面を流していては釣れなかったと思う。
So you heard that he caught those 3 fish on the tungsten. He thinks that what he said, if he used an ordinary kebari yesterday, he wouldn't have caught a fish.
だから、非常に天からの考え方は柔軟です。非常に柔らかい。こういうところで浅いところとかですね、いうところはもうこのいう今の毛針で十分なんです。
So the Tenkara thinking is very flexible. For conditions like this, it's shallow. This kebari is fine.
しかしそういう状況ですね。状況によって深いところとかね、そういうところはそういうビーズヘッドを使った毛針も使います。それも天からなんです。
If it's very deep, like yesterday, conditions are appropriate. You can use a tungsten head, and that's still Tenkara.
そう、非常にフレックス。
Flexible.
That brings back a few memories, doesn't it? That it seems so long ago now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because it seems such a short time since we first got together with Ishigaki in some ways, but in other ways we've had such a journey since then.
Yeah, the amount of sort of Japanese tenkara we've been exposed to since then, it's phenomenal. But if you enjoyed that, you might be interested to know we've got the whole seminar edited together on video, including some little bits of voiceover from Paul and myself, just helping to illustrate a few of the points a bit more. And Paul's put together a fantastic PDF featuring some stills from the video which accompanies it, and it really helps you get the most out of every teaching point that Ishigaki-san had to offer on that seminar.
Yeah, I think that's important to make the point there, John, because I mean, we've sort of loosely called it, and we might actually adopt this as a proper title, but the kind of In Focus Insider. And I think that captures the idea of what we're trying to do with it, is it's giving you the proper kind of raw root material.
Yeah, yeah.
The important thing is that you can see, I mean, there's nothing more valuable than watching a fantastic master Tenkara angler like Dr. Ishigaki. You know, he's been fishing that technique for 40 plus years, more than that probably, and his technique is honed. The thing is, unless you know exactly what you're looking at, you don't necessarily take all the benefit from that. So I think there's, you know, incredible amounts of added value that you can get by having that almost kind of post-match analysis, picking up the technical breakdown of stuff, digesting it and giving it to people in a way that they can just instantly use and just improve the results on stream. That is valuable, and that's why that material is what people have to pay to download. It's great for us, obviously, because it helps us keep the lights on and keep doing what we're doing. So, you know, please go ahead and buy it, but you will get a phenomenal amount of value out of taking some of that material away with you.
Yeah, if you've had any of our other downloads in the past, you're probably already familiar with the quality and the output that we actually produce. If you're not familiar with what we do, we're offering a money-back guarantee on this particular download. So if you are interested, if you want to see that whole seminar and get all the accompanying notes, the voiceover, the PDF, everything, check out the link below and you can get straight through and download your copy.
So there we go. Tenkara in Focus, episode 1 in the books.
Season 1, episode 1, done.
Obviously, as we've got so much content between us that we've built up that we want to share with you, and we're pumping that out really regularly. But we're going to get better at this. We're going to develop the format. We want to carry you guys along with that journey as well. So we need to hear your input. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It doesn't matter what the feedback is. Just kind of communicate that to us and give us that feedback, and we'll do our best to pick it up and run with it.
Yeah, if you head over on Facebook to Tenkara in Focus, we've set up a group where we'll be able to discuss the current programme. People will be free to talk about the programme, give us suggestions, tell us what they thought, and we'll probably be trying to tease a few things for upcoming programmes as well, so you'll see it first on there probably. Yeah, so tune in next time, get the next episode, but for now, from John and me, goodbye. Goodbye. Are you still here? Get out and fish.